Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me again, and welcome to any new viewers. This is To The Point English with Ben. I'm Ben, and in this video, we're going to be looking at the B2 First Cambridge English Exam speaking test. Specifically, I wanted to look at one of the videos that was posted on the official Cambridge Assessment English YouTube channel a few months ago now, I think about 9 months ago. Because I think those videos are great. I've also done this with the C1 Advanced and the C2 Proficiency speaking tests a couple of years ago, I think now. So I thought it was about time I looked at the B2 first. But I've always thought that those videos lack a bit of professional feedback. So that's what I want to do today. If this is the first video of mine you've watched, I'm an English teacher with 22 years experience, and I specialize in Cambridge English exam preparation. So I've helped thousands of students prepare for and pass their Cambridge English exams. And I have online preparation courses, which I go into a lot of detail on how to approach every single part of these very big and tricky exams. So look in the description for the link to those courses. I have one for the B2 First, one for the C1 Advanced, and one for the C2 Proficiency. But we're looking at the B2 First speaking paper today, and I'm going to link to the official examiner comments also in the description. So you get the specific marks for each criterion and the overall global score. Now, I think it's a really good exercise for you watching this video to perhaps think about how you would mark each of these students if you were the examiner, taking into consideration the marking criteria that the examiners look at, which is grammar and vocabulary, so that's together in one criterion, discourse management, pronunciation, and interactive communication. Okay, so let's have a look at this speaking test. Okay, so first of all, as I said, in the room, you will have an interlocutor who is the lady here. And in this case, the man is the assessor. So the interlocutor will speak to the students. The assessor won't say anything. Maybe he will say hello, but apart from that, he doesn't participate actively in the test. He's just taking notes. So this is what you'll see on the day of your exam. Obviously, not these people, unless you're in Brazil. This is from Brazil, this exam. And Julia and Isabella are the candidates here. Now, I have to say, these are particularly good candidates. I actually think these are probably more C1 level than B2. They're not perfect. There are things they can improve in their test, but they are very good. So I don't want you to think, if you're planning on taking the B2 first, you don't necessarily have to have this level, this speaking level, to pass the speaking test. You can still pass if you have a lower level, but this is a good example. It's a good example test because they do it quite well. But as I said, they could do some things better.
Good afternoon. My name is Ana Lapo, and this is my colleague Samuel Gama. And your names are?
My name is Julia.
Isabella. Can I have your mark sheets, please?
Of course.
Thank you. First, we'd like to know something about you. Where do you live, Julia?
Okay, so that's always how this test starts. They ask the names of the candidates, and then they have to hand in their mark sheets. That's not evaluated. From now on, from the moment that the interlocutor asks this first question, after saying, first, we'd like to know something about you, now it's evaluated. And very often, almost always, not always, but almost always, the first question is, where do you live? So I do recommend you prepare some kind of an answer for that. Now, your answer should not be sort of practiced or rehearsed. You should try to sound natural, but if you just think of some vocabulary you can use just to make yourself feel a bit more comfortable and confident on the day of the exam.
I live in Brazil, and the city São Paulo, and also the state.
And you, Isabella?
Me too,
Okay, so very short answers, obviously. I mean, it's just the first question. It's kind of a warm-up. In this part, this is the part one of the test. So these first three questions are really just like an icebreaker or a warm-up. However, I think these two candidates could have taken more advantage of the opportunity. I mean, Julia did say a little bit more, but no particularly impressive vocabulary. And Isabella didn't really say anything. She just said the same. So it's not a big problem, but I do recommend you take advantage. The examiners don't want long answers. They want pretty short answers for that first question, but just say something a bit more. And when you hear the questions, perhaps think how you would answer these questions. Pause the video, think how you would answer the questions before the candidates do so themselves.
How do you like to spend your evenings?
Oh, I love doing my nails and listening to a lot of music and watching series mostly and cooking. Love cooking.
Okay, that was really good. I really liked that answer. Grammatically perfect, no mistakes. I love doing my nails. Um, and I liked the way, not just what Isabella said, but the way she said it. She was smiling and relaxed and confident, very natural. Now, the examiners only really evaluate the words that are said, but if you can smile when you answer the questions, I know it's difficult because you're going to be nervous, but I think it inevitably makes a difference. You know, demonstrates that you're confident with your level. Body language and non-verbal communication is not specifically evaluated, but it does help. It does make a good impression on the examiners. And as I said, it was a grammatically good answer and a good length of answer. You don't need to say much more than that, and very natural. So good.
About a film you really like?
That
was tell us about a film you really like.
That's hard. I really love comedy movies, so mostly Adam Sandler, but I also really like terror. So I don't have a favorite one, but I'm gonna say Grown Ups.
Okay, again, I liked that answer. She said that's hard, so she was recognizing that it's a hard question for her to answer, but she did answer it. She said she likes comedies, particularly Adam Sandler, but also terror. So, but I like the way she did give an answer in the end. She said grown ups. So perhaps, the question was more about tell us about a film you really like. So, the perfect answer would perhaps have, she could have said Grown Ups and then explained why she likes the film Grown Ups. The question was not in general about what type of films, it was about a film. So not the perfect answer, but again, really natural and no mistakes. So pretty good.
Julia, do you normally celebrate special occasions with friends or family?
That depends. I mean, like on Christmas or something like I usually celebrate with my family, but on New Year's or I don't know, the start of the year, I usually would celebrate and my birthday with my friends.
Okay, not bad. This student, Julia, has some problems with prepositions, as you'll see as the test progresses. And she said, on Christmas, we say at Christmas. With religious holidays, we use the preposition at. So at Christmas, at Easter. That's a small detail. But then she said, on Christmas or something like. That's not really grammatically correct or complete. But again, quite a natural answer. So not bad at all. Let's see her next question.
And what did you do on your last birthday?
It was kind of a last time thing. So we just went everyone to my building, and then there was a space there, which is a garage band, and then we just stayed there.
Okay, so she said it was a last time thing. I think she meant a last minute thing. So they didn't have any time to prepare. So we don't say a last time, but a last minute thing. You have to be careful when you use phrases in your own language. I mean, I'm sure everybody in the room here is Brazilian, the interlocutor and the assessor, but it's an English exam, so you should try to use English words. However, sometimes if it's the name of a place in the country, in your country, or a name of a person, or maybe even in this case, maybe it's a type of party, I don't know, but just imagine you're speaking to someone who doesn't speak your language. So maybe you'd need to explain exactly what this thing you've just mentioned is. But in general, not a bad start by both students. That's part one finished now. So you should get about three questions each, and it lasts about 2 minutes in total. So about 1 minute for each student. But now in part two, it's where things get a little bit trickier. Now, in this video, I'm not going to go into detail about the format of the exam or give all my tips on strategy. I'm really just evaluating the performance of these two candidates. I have other videos on my YouTube channel where I explain exactly what you have to do in the speaking paper. And of course, in my online course, I go into a lot more detail and give all my tips on strategy. But just a quick overview. In part two of the speaking paper, the candidates are given 2 pictures and they're asked to compare the pictures and answer a question. The interlocutor will read the question out loud, but the question will also be written on the piece of paper above the pictures. So it's very important that the students compare and answer the question in 1 minute. They have 1 minute to do this task. And then when the first candidate has finished that task, there will be a follow-up question for the other candidate on the same photographs. And that should be about 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, so let's see how these candidates do.
In this part of the test, I'm going to give each of you 2 photographs. I'd like you to talk about your photographs on your own for about a minute, and also to answer a question about your partner's photographs. Julia, it's your turn first.
Okay.
Here are your photographs. They show friends doing things together in their free time. I'd like you to compare the photographs and say what you think the friends are enjoying about doing these things together in their free time. All right?
Mm-hmm. On the first picture, I would probably say they are camping or going on some school project, because I don't know if somebody would usually go out like this.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt there because, well, first of all, she said on the first picture. So again, the problem with the prepositions, it's in the first picture. That's very important because you will almost definitely have to use that preposition. You'll use that phrase in your speaking papers. You say in the first picture, in the second picture. So that was the first mistake. The second mistake that she's making here, it's not a grammar or vocabulary mistake. It's just that I feel that she's describing the picture when that's not really the task. The task is to compare the pictures. Now, sometimes when you're comparing pictures, you will need to kind of describe them. You need to say what you can see in the pictures, but you should always be comparing them. That's the task, not to describe the pictures. So again, it's a detail, but it's quite important.
But they are probably enjoying the nature and being together.
Okay, so good. Now she is answering the question. Again, a little mistake. She said enjoying the nature. We don't usually use the article with nature. We just say enjoying nature. Maybe she could get away with this because she's referring to the nature in the picture, but it sounds a bit unnatural to use the definite article with nature here. So I think that would be considered a mistake.
On the second picture, I would tell about, well, I can see there is music here, so I would tell they are kind of an orchestra.
Okay, so she was obviously uncertain about what she was saying there. A couple of problems here. She said, I would tell, when what she really means is I would say, not I would tell. And orchestra, she was uncertain, and she's right to be uncertain because it's orchestra, not orchestri. So orchestra.
They are singing together, and I don't know, they want to be singers maybe. And I don't know, they're enjoying their time together again.
Thank you.
Okay, that was a bit awkward at the end, wasn't it? It was a bit uncomfortable because she finished before the 1 minute was up. So the interlocutor will just give you the time. You have 1 minute. That's your minute. They're giving you that minute to use to demonstrate your level. You should never finish before the minute. You should keep on talking until the interlocutor interrupts you. Those last sort of maybe 10 seconds, she didn't really take advantage of the time at all because she didn't say anything that was going to get her more marks. So just try to stay in the zone. This is my tip for you, my recommendation. Just stay in the zone. Don't think too much about the time. Just think about completing the task and keep on talking until the interlocutor tells you that that's the minute. You know, they will interrupt you. They'll say thank you, and then you don't need to say anything more. So now Isabella has the follow-up question.
Now, Isabella, which of these things would you prefer to do in your free time?
Oh, probably the first picture where they're going. I don't know if they're really on a school trip or something, maybe, but
Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, because we don't know. When we're looking at these pictures, we don't know exactly what's happening. So we can't be certain. So we should use vocabulary, words of speculation. So she's recognizing and she's being honest. I don't know, but
particularly I love nature, and so I would love to go like to a park or something like that with my friends. So probably the first one. I also love singing, but I'm not too good at it. So the first one.
Thank you.
Again, really natural, really nice way of answering that question. She struggled with the pronunciation of particularly. Also, I don't think it was the word she wanted to use. I think she meant personally. But again, I think I really liked the way she answered the question. She did the task. She chose the first picture, but she also mentioned the other picture. So I also love singing, but she decided on the first picture. Okay, let's look at Isabella's long turn now. So her two pictures.
Now, Isabella, here are the photographs. They show children doing different things on a school trip.
Okay.
I'd like you to compare the photographs and say what you think the children are enjoying about doing these things on their school trip.
Oh, okay. So the first picture, they're eating and probably experimenting like new foods or something they might have made on their own. I don't know. They're probably enjoying that a lot because everybody loves eating, especially good food. And they're probably also enjoying eating together because they seem good friends. So it's better. And the second picture, they're definitely on a school trip. They seem to be like, I don't know, maybe people, I don't know, at schools, people usually go to museums or stuff like that to learn something. So probably something like that. And they're probably enjoying the view and this history about all the things they're seeing. But I don't know. I don't remember if you asked me, but I would rather do the first one.
Thank you.
Okay, again, she finished a little bit early. There was a few seconds at the end. Just keep on talking until the interlocutor interrupts you. Again, very honest, very natural. At the end, she said, "I don't know if you asked me, but I would choose." She didn't ask that. You only have to answer the question that is on the paper. So don't answer anything more. Wasn't a big problem here. I think, again, Isabella speaks very naturally. She has a very good level. As I said before, I think in particular, Isabella has a higher level than B2, probably a C1. But yeah, really nice answer. At the beginning, she spoke about they are probably experimenting with new food or experimenting new food. I don't think she meant experimenting. You can experiment when you're cooking, but I think she meant experiencing or just trying new foods. I think that's what she meant. Experimenting wasn't quite the right word here. But she used some nice grammar. She said it's something they might have made themselves. So that's really nice grammatical structure. She said they're definitely on a school trip. Again, we can't be sure about anything. I think a more appropriate phrase there would be they must be on a school trip. But again, not a big problem. I think it was a very good answer. So let's look at Julia's follow-up question now.
Julia, do you enjoy going on school trips with friends?
Yeah, definitely. I like spending time with them, and usually we go to museums, so which is a thing that I love to do. So I really do enjoy them.
Thank you.
Okay, that was a really nice answer, really natural, no mistakes, and yeah, just that's how you need to answer those kind of questions. This question was a little bit different, to be honest, because usually the follow-up questions in this part of the exam encourage you to speak about one of the pictures. In this case, the pictures were kind of irrelevant, weren't they? Because it was just a general question. So I don't know why they put the pictures in front of her, because she didn't need to talk about the pictures. It was more of a personal question. But she answered it really well, very natural, good pronunciation, and doing the task and answering the question. Okay, let's look at part 3 now. So in part 3, this is the first time that the students interact, or the candidates interact with each other. So until now, they've just been talking directly to the interlocutor, but now they are going to talk to each other in an interactive task. So here they will be given a diagram, so a spider diagram. There's a question in the middle and then 5 prompts around the outside. In the first task, which is a 2-minute task, they must answer the question together using the prompts that are provided. And then in the second task, they have to come to some kind of decision together. They have 1 minute to talk together about the question that the interlocutor asks. and come to a decision together. They're not obliged to agree, but they need to go through the process. They need to negotiate towards a decision. Okay, so let's see how they do.
Now, I'd like you to talk about something together for about 2 minutes. I'd like you to imagine that a large shop wants to encourage more young people to go there. Here are some ways the shop could do this and a question for you to discuss. First, you have some time to look at the task.
Okay, this is important. As she said, as the interlocutor said, first you have some time to look at the task. So they give you 15 seconds to read the text on the page. So you don't say anything, just keep quiet, read what is on the page and think perhaps about how you're going to start. But don't say anything until the interlocutor speaks. Many people make the mistake of panicking and thinking they have to start speaking, but the interlocutor will explain what you have to do and when you have to do it.
Okay. Now, talk to each other about the advantages and disadvantages of these different ideas for the shop.
Do you want to go first?
You can go.
Okay, so
this is they haven't started yet, I know, but this is a tip I give in my online course and in my videos. You only have 2 minutes, so 120 seconds for this task. You don't want to waste a second. So here you can see that both Julia and Isabella are being very polite. So would you like to go first? I don't mind. They're wasting time there. So I recommend that before you enter the exam room on the day of your exam, you speak to your partner and decide who is going to start this task, because you don't want to waste a second. I mean, these candidates are not going to lose marks because they asked who wants to start. They're not going to be penalized for that. It's absolutely fine, but they're just wasting a bit of time, and every second is precious in this task.
Oh, I really think I think it's really good, a cafe and free Wi-Fi, because people really love both of those. And I don't see really any disadvantages like having a cafe or free Wi-Fi. So I don't know. I think those are really good ideas. Celebrity visits seems too expensive and a little hard to get. So I don't know about that.
Yeah, not bad, but not great. No big grammar mistakes. A couple of things she could have expressed better. But what I want to focus on here is the lack of interaction. This is the first time, as I said, that the candidates interact with each other. And I think the big mistake that Isabella has made is she's started speaking about different prompts. She spoke about 3 different prompts without including Julia. Julia's sitting there waiting patiently for Isabella to ask her opinion. In fact, Isabella's looking at the interlocutor. Again, nonverbal communication is not evaluated in the exam, but it's important that you look at your partner. That's who you should be interacting with in this case. So my recommendation is that you just choose one of the prompts, talk about it, give a couple of ideas, and then ask your partner to respond. What do you think about what I have just said? Isabella is talking about 3 prompts. That makes it very difficult for Julia to know how to respond. Julia does well here because she kind of steps in. She's realized that Isabella isn't going to include her, so she has to be proactive and start speaking.
Yeah, I would probably say the same. Celebrity visits would be a great idea because, if, I don't know, Anita would be on a cafe, I would definitely try to go there. But I don't know.
Again, that must be a cultural reference. I don't know what that is. She said if Anita goes there, I'm not sure what she's referring to there. I don't know if that's a friend of theirs or it's a cultural reference from Brazil. Be careful with those kind of things because the interlocutor needs to understand what you're referring to.
I feel like maybe that could bring a few problems.
Yeah.
The place would be so crowded.
And security.
Yeah, everything would be, I don't know, maybe a little bit problematized.
Yeah, but as a student,
problematize doesn't exist. It's problematic. But yeah, I think the interaction is getting better as this task progresses. I think they're interacting with each other better. It's much more natural. It's quite a natural conversation now.
And discounts for students are very good.
Yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah. But it might be a disadvantage because, you're paying less, so they're receiving less. But it would also bring new customers, like younger.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's worth.
The computer games area, I would like, but I don't know, maybe it would be a place where not everyone would go. So maybe this would be bad because they wouldn't have so many people there.
Yeah.
And they could take a place that they could do other things there. So I don't know.
But it's also good for the students because
Yeah.
they're young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, so in the end, it was quite a nice interaction, a couple of small grammar mistakes. Again, you have the examiner comments in the description to this video if you want to see the details on how they evaluated each of the criterion. But in the end, quite a nice conversation. Again, I felt that they were finishing a little early. It's like they wanted to finish, but the interlocutor hadn't told them that the time was up. So again, just keep on talking until the interlocutor interrupts you. And remember the interaction. It's so important in this part of the exam. Okay, let's see the next question now for this 1 minute decision-making task.
Now you have about a minute to decide which two ideas would be most popular with young people.
Okay.
I think the discounts and free Wi-Fi.
Probably the discounts for students and free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've gone straight in it and taken the decision. They've both agreed with each other. So Julia said discounts and free Wi-Fi, and Isabella agreed immediately. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way, but you have a minute to talk. That's like five seconds they've taken. So I always recommend that you disagree with your partner in this part of the exam because it's much easier to say something when you disagree. If you agree with your partner, often you're just repeating the vocabulary that they've used. So even if you don't really disagree politely. But yeah, here they've taken the decision very early. So they need to keep on talking for a minute. Let's see how they do it.
Because young people love internet, media stuff. So that's really good. But talking about myself, I really love Wi-Fi and I really need it, So it's really good. Especially if they're not they're at the shop waiting for someone, they have the free Wi-Fi or something like that.
Okay, again, this should be an interaction between Julia and Isabella. Isabella's talking to the interlocutor. She's not really including Julia at all. In your exam, just remember that you should be interacting with your partner.
Or post pictures
Yeah.
and everything, which is better for the shop because more views.
I would tell the Wi-Fi because I'm the one who likes to post every single thing I do on my day. So that would be really great. And that's counts because, I don't know, I feel like that would bring a lot of more customers for the cafe, if it was a cafe. Because, that could be better.
The shop.
Yeah.
I love paying less, so.
Thank you.
Okay, again, better as the task progressed, there's more interaction. What I really like about both of these candidates is they're smiling and natural, and they seem to be actually enjoying it, which is very rare. It's uncommon. So yeah, generally good. Just remember to interact with your partner and complete the task. In this case, they did, but I would recommend that you take the decision a little bit later, not at the beginning, because then you just have to fill the time. So, but generally very good. These are good candidates and they're doing very well. So now we move on to part 4. That's the end of part 3. So part 4 is the last part of the speaking paper, and it's a continuation of part 3. So it's on the same topic. The interlocutor will ask discussion questions. So this part is called the discussion. So the discussion questions on the same topic as part 3. Now, what usually happens is the interlocutor will direct the first question towards the candidate who has spoken less in the rest of the exam. And then later there should just be a conversation. So the interlocutor will do something like this, and that is signaling that they should talk to each other. So let's see how this goes. This is the best part of the exam, really. It's the most natural part. It's where you can just really just have a nice chat, more or less, with your partner. So whatever has happened in the rest of the exam, always remember you have the discussion part at the end. Okay, let's see how it goes.
Have the booklet?
Yes.
Julia, would you go to a shop like this?
What we just talked?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Why?
Probably because if it was a cafe, I love coffee, so I would definitely like to be on a place where it sells like Starbucks or places like that. I love being there. And the free Wi-Fi would be so great because I love posting things, so I would definitely film everything I was doing. And maybe I wouldn't use it so much the computer area, but the discounts were really great too.
Okay, quite a nice answer. Yeah, it was good that at the beginning she clarified, because it wasn't very clear when the interlocutor said, "Would you go to a shop like this, or would you use a shop? Is this the one we were just talking about?" Yes, that's fine. Just to clarify the question. And again, a nice natural answer. I think she spoke well. Again, a couple of little mistakes, nothing too major. I think what I really liked was the natural way she answered the question, smiling again. You don't have to smile, but it helps. So yeah, a nice answer.
Yeah, I would probably go there too. Like, yeah, because I mean, the Wi-Fi is a really important part, and also like if I'm seeing Julia's story on Instagram, oh, I'm definitely going there. They have discounts, so yeah.
Okay, so again, a nice natural answer, including Julia in some way, or responding to what Julia had already said. So really good, no mistakes, nice pronunciation, and really fluent.
Isabella, do you think parents should allow children to choose their own clothes in shops?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they could have like if a girl is too young or and they want to wear something like it's not appropriate or something like that, they should definitely like try to tell her that like politely and nicely. But I think they should be free to make their choices about that.
Okay, that's a nice answer. That's she was really thinking about the answer. You could tell that she was not just sort of robotically responding. She was considering the question and answering in her way. You can tell she uses the filler like a lot. I mean, that's very common among young people to say like after every sentence. You're not necessarily going to be deducted points or penalized for doing that kind of thing, because it doesn't affect the understanding or the comprehension, and it doesn't confuse anything, and it's quite a natural way of speaking. If you're saying like after every phrase, it can be a bit too much. I think Isabella doesn't use it too much, but it's close to it in my opinion.
What do you think?
Oh, I think kind of the same as her, because I don't know, I feel like even though children are children, they should be able to choose what they want to wear. Of course, if it's something inappropriate, like their body is showing weight more than they usually should, then they should talk to the children. But I think probably, yeah.
Okay, so a nice answer. Again, a couple of little grammatical mistakes, which will affect her score in the grammar and vocabulary criterion, of course. But generally a nice answer. Good pronunciation and pretty fluent.
Do you think it's important for people to wear fashionable clothes?
Okay, there's that signal I was talking about. That's letting the students know that they should be now interacting with each other. The discussion should continue with them talking to each other.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Why?
Oh,
I never like it when the interlocutor has to say why. Candidates should answer the question and then expand. They should justify their answer. They shouldn't, when the interlocutor has to say why, that means they're not really giving enough information. Again, it's a small detail, but quite important.
I don't know. Like, I really love fashion and things about that, and I also pretend to study like that on that area, like that.
Okay, I'm not looking at all the grammar and vocabulary mistakes that they make in this video, because as I said, you have the examiner comments to look at that, but I pretend to study that's quite a big mistake. That's a false friend. Pretend doesn't mean the same in Portuguese as it does, or the equivalent in Portuguese as it does in English. She means I intend to study, not pretend. Pretend is to do something that is not real when you're acting. So when you pretend to be someone, you're not. But she means intend.
Fashion and design. So I particularly love that. And I like in a partner maybe or friends, I think it's really good for them to have great style, you know, like a good sense of style. It's much better.
Again, yeah, nice answer. She speaks very well. I mean, Isabella has a very good level. She has nice pronunciation and an American English pronunciation, but that's fine. It's a British English exam, but American English is equally accepted. Pronunciation and spelling of words and vocabulary. The problem here is that she wasn't interacting. She was looking at the interlocutor. The idea was that she should speak to Julia, include Julia, respond to Julia. That they're not interacting with each other. So that's she will be penalized for that.
Mine is also kind of the same because design is really into one of my ideas of going into college. So that would definitely help a lot. But I really enjoy being in my pajamas or wearing clothes that there have like no sense. But yeah.
Okay, so a good answer there. Not fantastic because there were a couple of mistakes again, but again, no interaction. She was just talking to the interlocutor. She should have been talking to Isabella, and perhaps it would have been nice to have some sort of back and forth, some, responding to each other, not just answering the question. It was like two monologues rather than a dialogue, rather than an interaction. So that, as I said, they have a really good level, and this is often the case. Candidates have the level to pass the exam, but if you don't know what you have to do in each part, you're not going to get the maximum scores that you could potentially get.
Young people have their own money to buy whatever they want.
That's a hard one. I mean, as a young person, I would love to have a lot of money to buy like material stuff and mostly clothes and everything. But I don't know if they should be allowed like to buy anything, you know. There should always be like some limits. I don't know. It depends really on their behavior and like how they treat money and stuff like that. So it's really hard.
So that was a really nice answer. She used some really nice vocabulary and answered the question well. Again, really thoughtful, really considered answer, but no interaction, no interaction with Julia. So, it's such an easy thing to fix if you know how to do these tasks.
Agree?
Yeah, but I also think that maybe if a children had so much money and they wish they could buy everything they wish for, maybe that could spoil them a little. So that wouldn't be so great because in this country we live today, that wouldn't be the best scenario. But yeah, I would agree.
Okay, again, a couple of mistakes with the conditional structure, and she said that if a children, it should be a child. But again, we're not analyzing the grammar and vocabulary here. It's more about how they approach the task. Apart from those mistakes, the answer was pretty good, and she did answer the question. But again, no interaction at all with Isabella. The idea of this part of the task is to discuss the questions together.
Is it a good idea for people to buy things online?
If it's a trustable site, then definitely. But
this is interesting because she says if it's a trustable site. Now, I looked at the examiner comments and they've marked that as a mistake because it's much more common to say a trustworthy site. However, trustable does exist in the English language. You can find it in dictionaries. So I'm kind of surprised that the examiners considered this a mistake. As I said, trustworthy is much more common, but the fact that trustable appears in dictionaries would suggest to me that it should be accepted in this context, but the examiners decided it was a mistake.
I don't know. I always search like the website and everything before buying because I don't want to be like spending my money on something that's not really coming to me. So I think it's good. It's like a very important market and everything, but you also have to be careful about what you buy.
Me and my family, we really like buying online stuff, especially because they have really good discounts, so that helps a lot. But I think it's kind of the same because you gotta have trust on the site you're going to buy, because I have some experience on things that never came.
Okay, so again, the problem with the prepositions, trust on the, we say trust in the thing, the site you're going to buy from. In general, our answer is good so far.
And that is such a horrible feeling.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the
Thank
test.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, so just like that, the exam finishes and you can go home and relax because it's a very stressful and nerve-wracking exam in general. So when it's finished, you'll be very relieved. And these two candidates, in summary, did very well. They have a very high level. And when you look at the examiner comments, you'll see that they both passed. They both got an A, so they did very well. As I said, they didn't get maximum scores in any of the criterion because they weren't perfect. They both made some mistakes. And as I said, in the interactive task, there was very little interaction. So they got away with it because they have a high level. But if you have a lower level and you make more grammar and vocabulary mistakes, or perhaps your pronunciation is not so good, then you're really going to need all the help you can get. So if you can interact better, you're going to get more marks, and that will help you get over that threshold for the pass. And don't forget, if you're preparing for the B2 First Cambridge English exam or the C1 Advanced or C2 Proficiency, check out my online preparation courses because I designed them specifically to help people like you. Okay, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you very soon for another video.